Got this pretty good split in here, some bark inclusions, and it's cracked all the way, more than halfway. So I'm just going to encourage that a little bit more.
Built this greenhouse several years ago with the intention of growing a lot more garden vegetables and such. It's actually a really good place for me to dry wood. So this is where I've got this. I will open up this window a little bit and open up that window already is open, and then with the heat in here, this should dry this out. So we'll check it after about a week and see how it's doing. Some of the top ones are down here. This one here says it's still at like 10, 11. So I'm going to leave that one go a little bit longer. But they're starting to get lower and lower, so that's good. And it's down around 8%, 7%, something like that right now. They do have a bow on the board, so I'm going to cut them on the bandsaw first before I try to plane them. They're glued up. I've got them pretty flat, at least one side, the side that's going to be facing the melon, my form here. And by the way, I'm not an expert at this. First time doing a project like this. Lots of good videos out there. Watch those if you want to learn how to do it. If you just want to see how I did it, you can come along for the ride. So I've got this particle board with this, I think it's called melamine on the sides. It's actually on both sides. And so the first thing I'm going to do, I've got this cut to size. I'm going to glue this up with liquid nails along here and along the sides. Put some nails in from the nail gun to hold it in place. Then let that all set up before I go on with the next step. Probably should have used thicker. I only have 1/2 inch material here. I probably should use 3/4 inch with a little more bite for those nails. So I'm going to have to clean those up before I pour the epoxy. I did a better job on this side. No nails came through. And then I'll take the excess and run my finger on here. So what I did is after this had dried, I took some of this quick wax. This was really cheap at the store. I liked it because it was a spray bottle, and I sprayed it all around, wiped it down with paper towel. So I've used wax before when I've done resin pours, and it's worked wonderfully well. So I'm hoping it'll work well for this. We'll find out at some point here. I've also made sure that this form is level in all directions. I had to shim up a little bit on this side, and I also put down some plastic first, because quite often when you do these pours, there's a leak. I have put tape around the outside, some clear tape, to hopefully prevent that. But I watched a lot of videos on this, and a lot of times the epoxy pours out. So now I can put the wood in. So I'm going to be using Total Boat thick set epoxy resin. They sent this to me, so thank you Total Boat for sending that to me. You can pour up to 1 inch thick on bigger stuff like this. I guess it says on the directions for smaller things you can go up to 2 inches. But since I'm only going to go an inch, I should be okay with one pour on this. I also got some pigment powder. I got a bronze and a silver. I think I'll do them both and see what that looks like. All right, now some of the bronze. I ended up putting these weights on here. It was actually floating a little bit. All right, it's been more than a week, so let's see what this looks like. Remember that piece of tape I put down? That's the only place where it came off. Lesson learned, put the tape down. So even though I got these two sides flat, there are some ridges in here from the bit going back and forth. So I'll be using a belt sander for this. Got to be careful with a belt sander because it's easy to gouge out one area. So you got to just make sure that you never stop moving it and just go over the whole area and keep it moving basically. I'll cut it down to size and then I'll finish sanding it. I've only gone down to 120 grit so far. I'll go down to probably 400 grit before it's all said and done. This is the bottom side of the table. I didn't, there's some tear out and such here, which is fine because it's only about 7/8 of an inch thick, and I don't think that's I don't think that's thick enough for the table. It'll warp and whatnot. So I'm planning on putting a piece of plywood under here,
to help with that, and I'm going to screw that in, and I'll create some slots for that so that there'll be some movement for the top to move, but this should help keep it fairly straight. And I've also cut some strips here that will go on the ends. After securing this on here, I didn't like how it looked. I was hoping to get kind of a shadow line in here, and I think it just looks a little weird being this close to the edge. So I took out all the screws, and I'm going to have to recut it, and I'm going to try to get it so where it looks something more like this. So I'll measure over there. I'll cut 2 sides, and I'll have to put the cherry strips back on. But I think it'll look nicer that way. It just didn't look very good before. So I can drill some pilot holes for these. I'm going to use this Total Boat Halcyon Clear. They sent this to me as well, so again, thank you to Total Boat for this. I bought a set of these legs online, so I'll install those now. Just put them right here in the corners. Alright, I got a couple more things I got to put on here for hardware. I bought both these online. This is a mounting bracket for the computer, and then I haven't shown you yet this, but I did make another board here and treated it just like this with the plywood underneath to help keep it straight. This is going to go right here, and this is going to hinge on the front. So I've got to put hinges across here. I've got to put this in, and then I bought these extension arms to hold this up. So I think that'll be strong enough. My only issue is when I have these in here, and this goes back all the way, I need this to be back here. I don't know if I got enough room. I think what I'm going to have to do is put some plywood or spacers underneath here, because this part here where the CPU unit hits will hit that. I'm really happy with the way this turned out. It's a fairly simple desk, just a top with the pre-made legs and a little bit of that epoxy pour in the middle. It's kind of a river desk, I guess, river table, but yeah, I like the way it turned out. It's going to do my son well. He wanted this width we measured last time, so hopefully all the dimensions are going to work well for him. He's going to use it primarily for when he games, but yeah, I like it. The arms here make this very strong. I'm not worried. I was a little worried about it when I ordered them because they only come out about, I think like 7 inches or something like that. But they're actually, the way they design them, they're actually angled, so they're coming up, so they give quite a bit of support here, and especially with 2 of them in there. So glad I got those. Thanks for watching. I appreciate the support.